Well, we got our transmission mount in last night, and it looks like the right model, so we're gonna have to pull this one out and find out. So first things first, safety. We've got a jack stand and our jack. Now we're gonna jack up until we're supporting the transmission and the transmission itself. So that's because we are removing what traditionally supports the transmission, and that is the cross member, the piece that goes between your two frames. And so we have a 17 millimeter to remove the cross member bolts, and then we have a 13 millimeter to remove the bolts, to remove these little bolts on the old one, of course, not on the new one. These will tend to break off. If they do, hopefully we can get the nut off of it and reuse the nut, because it didn't come with a new one. If not, we're gonna have to run to the old hardware store and get some new ones. So I'm gonna jack these up and start pulling stuff apart. Now, as you can see, as you can see, I've loosened the 4 bolts that hold the cross member onto the axle, and I've loosened the 4 bolts that hold the transmission mount onto the cross member, and I'm loosening all of them before I take a single one of them off. And so far, and I think it's one, because I've been soaking it in a liquid wrench for over 72 hours, I think. That second, I have taken these out before. From the factory, one of these is actually a stud. That's a pain to remove, but it's gone now. So these were easy, and these, because I was soaking them, were easy. The ones in the cross member. If you don't soak them, they're not going to be easy. So I'm now going to continue loosening all of them until I've got them all off. Now, when you lower this cross member down and you take these bolts, they will fall, but if you have your jack in the right place and under enough tension, it should hold your transmission and everything in place without any movement, and that will allow you to replace this transmission mount. So I'm gonna keep unbolting, and I'll see you in a moment. Now, I just want to show you, I have the cross member totally detached from the frame, and it's not going to fall because I have this jack. Without a jack, you cannot do this. It will fall on you. And as you see, bushing so short, I can rub it like Sean Connery. So I'm going to take the last 4 bolts out. They're just hanging on by a little bit, the last 4 bolts right here. And then we'll be able to access the 2 bolts that hold the transmission mount to the actual transmission. And this is a great angle for me, really is. But, so we got 2 tools here. One is the come loose, I'm telling you bar, AC, the easy bar. And the second is a Harbor Freight heat gun. Now, one thing I thought of before and realized I didn't do, it might be smart to drive your vehicle if you're able to and get the block to heat up, get the transmission to heat up, and that'll be easier for you to remove the bolts when it's hot versus when it's cold. I don't really want to use a torch down here, you know, as a first solution, so I'm going to use this heat gun and try and heat up a bolt, and then just get it a little loose with this, and then crank it loose with the smaller one. You don't want to put too much torque on it if it's not moving, because you might break it. And having to drill one of these out of your transmission would be a horrible day, and I hope it does not happen. Now that's 1 bolt loose. Now I'm going to try and loosen the other bolt before I take this one all the way out. So we've loosened both of them with the heat gun and then the big torque stick. So now I'm just easing them both off. before we put the new one in, I just want to show you, this is definitely not the original transmission mount. It's not in terrible shape, but there are cracks running all the way through that middle point right there. And that's, you know, that's, the intent is for this to wear so metal stuff doesn't, and that's why you want to keep an eye on these, replace them every like 50,000 miles. I don't know, I'm not a mechanic. I think 50,000, 100,000. I bet this is probably the first replacement this Cherokee had, and I'm replacing it with its second, and it's at 220,000 miles. So it's every 110,000 miles. That's a good replacement time. And so I'm gonna put the new one in, which you can see is in much better shape. No massive tears or corrosion in it. So we're gonna bolt this one up, and remember to anti-seize and or Loctite, depending on which bolts. I generally just put anti-seize on stuff because Loctite makes them hard to come off, and I almost always have to take things back off. Now, when you're going to install the new mount, do be conscious it is off-centered. It's not a uniform piece. It's asymmetrical, or whatever you want to call it. So it's supposed to be the longer side towards the passenger. So I'm facing towards the front. This longer side here wants to be towards your passenger, and the bolts on the closer side want to be towards your driver. And this is part 2625 off of Amazon, but I'm going to bolt these up and it should be easy peasy. So these bolts, these upper ones that torque into the transmission, they torque to 55 foot-pounds of force. So this is a 24-inch torque stick. So that means 22.5 pound-feet of force, because it's 2 feet. I don't even know if that logic makes sense or I'm completely making it up. Half turned past tight means it's torqued. That's not mechanical advice. Do not use that. Hey! There's one. Now using the star pattern, which means going to the opposite. Now this is the reason I put the jack stand across the vehicle instead of front to back. One, it's ease of access, but two, your transmission moves a little bit while you're doing this, and having your vehicle or having your wheels of the jack so you can move it left to right, passenger to driver, allows you to more easily line up the cross member bolts. As you can see, I have them over here, and here it is. As you can see over here, I have the two just hand threaded in, and I did have to pull it about 3 inches back this way because it had just shifted while I was working and torquing everything down. And you just want to make sure you have the wheels of your jack lined up beforehand, so it's just easiest for you to go boop, move it over, line the holes up, pop them in. Now I'm going to pop these in, and then we're going to torque them all down, and this will be done. So we've got everything torqued down and sitting in place, and here comes the moment of truth where we hope nothing drops out from under the vehicle. And nothing even shifted, which means we got it all perfectly in line and the bolts are all torqued down properly. Before you just say, oh, this project's done, which I definitely thought and just did, take your vehicle on a test drive. Make sure everything's settled in. You might have to re-torque some stuff, but better to do it now than to have it fall off on the highway. So I'm gonna take her for a drive and see if any of the bolts came loose and if we have to torque stuff back down. So this project was not too hard. It took me about an hour and a half. I do recommend soaking everything in the liquid wrench, you know, as far out as you can. 72 hours, 3 months, however you can, only gonna help you. We got a kind of gnarly, ripped up old trans mount, not the worst in the world, but definitely an upgrade getting that out of there, some good maintenance. I think anybody can do this. It only took 3 wrenches, a jack and a jack stand, and a trusty old piece of cardboard to lay on. I think you should try this if you've got a lifted or any type of 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive truck, probably something that's been neglected for a while. So like, subscribe, comment, see you guys on the next one, and I'm gonna go wash your hands. My hands, not your hands. You wash your own hands. And remember, if some guy can do it,